line it up so it looks pretty good there. Looks good there. Looks good there. Ah, shoot. Okay, I got the ballpark there. I got a little good there. So to make up the wire that goes on the back there, I'm just going to nip off a little bit of wire here. Give that a tighten around. And we're going to take the connector. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to slide a larger one down, smaller one down. These are heat shrink tubes just because I'm anal. And we're just going to slide that in, and then just going to give it a good pinch. That way. That way. There we go. Give it a little tug test just to make sure it's not going to come out. And I didn't mean to actually do that. Okay, we'll just go with the one. I did it on the other one, but anyway, we'll just slide that around. So just heat shrink, just to kind of protect that that connection there. So just grab our heat gun and watch that slowly conform. There we go. And we've got a nice connection there. So all that's left to do now is just plug these in, and I'm just going to cut the wire to the correct length, and then we're going to do the inline tap. So I only need a short length of wire, so this will be plenty. So we'll just give that a little knock off there. And this one's being stubborn. There we go. Okay, so now we've made up the wiring for the voltmeter, and we're going to tap this in to the harness that I ran from the battery a little while ago. Okay, and to drill the main one, I'm going to use my step bit. Well, the step bit worked fine. The only problem is my biggest step bit is not big enough to do that hole there. So I have to find something else. Okay, the only other thing I had was a Forstner bit, and because I took away my pilot, I couldn't actually get that in there. So what I ended up doing was I just wallowed out that hole from the step bit, and boom, perfect fit. Now, I just need to mount that, pop that in, run the wiring in the back, and on to the next step. Let's get that lined up there. Pop in the last one. Oh yeah, I think that's gonna look good there. Success. A hole. And then we can pop. That gets popped in. I'll straighten that up after. Okay, so we're going to take our wiring harness. Just going to tuck that through the back there, and I'm just going to put that in place. Just kind of hold that, and we come around to the back side here. Hang on to that. We're going to take our ring, which secures it, and we'll throw that over the wires. We'll drop that down, and then we can spin this on. I think you can see that. There we go. Now, before I get that too tight, let's line this up so it's straight up and down, so that looks relatively okay. We'll see if my OCD reacts negatively to it, and we just continue to spin until this tightens up. And those screws are really long, so I might end up cutting those off, but no, I think we're good there. Okay, so we got the wiring harness in the back. There's the panel mounted. It's nice because it's a pretty sparse dash, and the one thing that I do like to keep an eye on is the health of the battery. So this one also comes with an on-off switch there, so it's not continually drawing power. So if I was charging something, fine. If not, if I just wanted to check it part way through, I just turn it on, see what the health of the battery is, then turn it off. And it will, yeah, got a waterproof cap on it. So I think this is going to be a great upgrade. So now that we finally got that, I'm going to hook up the harnesses again, and we'll get this mounted back in place, and we'll get these connections secured to the main battery line, that main battery harness that I ran earlier. So to make up the connections, I'm using these self-stripping tap connectors I picked up at Canadian Tire. So what they are is you run two wires into this, you clamp or squeeze this blade down, and it cuts into the two wires, and then you fold that over the top, and you've got a connection. Now these are actually made up. I'll show you as an example because it would be too hard once it's on the machine. You take the wire that you want to tap from. So in this case, we'll pretend this is the wire that comes from my battery, and that goes in the outside hole. Get that in focus. You can see that goes all the way through. So the bottom one has a stop in there, so you can't put it all the way through. When you try to put it in, it'll only go part way, whereas the top one will go all the way through. So then you take your one that you want to tap into, and that goes into the other one that has the stop in there. And when they're both seated, you take your pliers and you squeeze this piece down, this metal piece, until it's completely flush. And once it's completely flush, you bend it over and your connection is done. And I would recommend sealing that up with good quality electric tape. Not necessarily the cheapy stuff, but you know, spend the extra $1.50 or $2 and get the good stuff. So I'll show you this once it's on, but it's just going to be a little bit too cramped in there to show you how this thing works, but I'll show you once it's connected. Okay, it turns out I think I can give you a half decent view of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting this into the bottom, and this one goes into the top here. I hope you can see this. There we go. That sits down there. The wire goes inside until it hits the stop in there. I grab my pliers, and I'm going to squeeze this down until it's completely flush. And do this without you getting up and close personal with my elbows. And you can see that's down pretty close, and you don't want pretty close, you want all the way down. And that there is all the way down. Take the cover You snap that over. Oh, okay, that doesn't. Okay. So, you take your good electrical tape. And we will get that under some tension. Make sure it's not going anywhere. There we go. I'll probably take this out a little bit more to the sides there just to make sure the connection is there. And we start doing our harnesses back up again. This clicks in there. That clicks in there. And then we've got the lighting harness over on this side. Connects right here. Try and hang on to this. There, we've got our harnesses all buttoned up again. And then all of this will just fit eventually down over there. Did you ever have one of those feelings where you thought that you had nailed everything perfectly? That was me yesterday, thinking I had nailed the voltmeter and USB port installation. Well, it turns out those connectors are crap. Either that or I screwed something up. It's not working. So, change of plans. We're going to remove the shroud again. And I'm going to use some Wago connectors, which is all I have on hand at the moment, and I wanted to get this job done. So I will never, ever think to myself, yeah, that's good. Not until I see the damn thing work. So you might ask yourself, and rightly so, why didn't you test it before? I don't know. In my defense, I am recovering from surgery. And this was a job that I thought was so straightforward that even I couldn't screw it up. Wrong! So, I'm going to take all that tape off. The good, expensive electrical tape, as you'll recall that I so adamantly advised that you use. And I'm going to replace it with Wago connectors. Now, these are for home wiring, and these are going to get the job done until I can get proper automotive connectors. So, what is a Wago connector? Well, simply, it's a lever nut. That's it there. It's got three openings, and you, as the name says, you lift up the levers, comme ça, and then you slide your wire in and close it down. And I'll show you a close-up of what happens in here. So you take your wire, and there we go. Take your wire, you put it in, just put it in like that, and close it down. And that connection is pretty darn solid. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to get this or not, but up here at the very top, there is a strip that runs right there. Yeah, that strip runs right across there. So that will take the power from the three wires, and that will distribute them. So I will have the one wire coming from the battery. I will have another one coming from the voltmeter, which will be connected into here, and then after I cut the other wire, that will then go to the battery tending port. And theoretically,
this should work. It's not an automotive connector. I will be wrapping it with the good electrical tape again until I can get a proper automotive connector, just for moisture and all that stuff. Although theoretically, I think this will be fine, but now that I know how to take the shroud off and the wheel off and all the rest of it, I think this is probably the best thing to do, is to get the automotive connector on. But I want this thing done. I want to move my tractor out of the shed. I've got work to get done in the shed. Not real work, but you know, puttering and just kind of tidying and stuff. But the tractor takes up a lot of room here. So anyway, let me get this split off and we'll show you the connections.
Okay, so now that the tape is off, I'm going to take this off, pull this out. Okay, that that spike is sharp. Note to self. And I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it didn't. There is a sizable difference here between the two gauges of wire. I'm running 14 gauge from the voltmeter itself. Come here, you little bugger. There we are. All right, so I'm going to take my side cutters. Take my side cutters and I'm going to just sever that connection. So now I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here. I'm going to pop the ends off, exposing some wire. There we go. That should do it. So, give that end a twist. And I'm going to put that. Oh, need to take a little bit more off. A little bit more. There we go. That should be grand. So we're going to do the negatives first. So in it goes. Push it all the way in until it seats up at the top. Click down. Take the other ones. Take the one from the voltmeter. Actually, just trim that end off. Spin that around. Put that in. Close that nut down. That's in tight, that's in tight. I'm going to take the last one. This is the one now that runs to the just move that over. This one runs to the battery tender or battery charger, however you like your nomenclature. Tuck that in. And I guarantee you, before this thing gets buttoned up, it will be tested tonight. Okay, so those are connected. Probably a little bit more room on that one. grab another connector here. These things are awesome. If you're doing any household stuff, you can get, you're just doing a straight line splice. You know, you get them that size. You get them up to, what, there's 5 in that one, 2s, all kinds of stuff. They're as handy as a pocket on a shirt. Okay, so let's get this sucker in. There we go. That in. Lock that down. It's on nice and tight. Trim this one. So this is pretty much just kind of proof of concept for me right now, because I just want to make sure the darn thing is going to work. And if it works, well, then tomorrow I will I'll run over to Canadian Tire and I will get some proper automotive connectors. So that's good, that's good. And one more from the voltmeter. Give it a twist. Put her in. Lock it down. Now, theoretically, this should work. Well, let's find out. Now. And it doesn't want to work. So if you're just tuning in, this is how not to install a voltmeter and wire it to your tractor. Gonna have to noodle on this for a bit. And I found the culprit. I didn't realize it till I watched it back, but there was a spark there and it took out the fuse. Do I have a 10 amp fuse? Of course not. That's it for tonight. Part 3 tomorrow. You know, a lot of YouTube video creators will never show their mistakes, which is fine. It makes for, you know, good content and nice continuity and flow through. However, with me, you'll never get that, because when it goes right, that's just a rarity. So when I replace the fuse tomorrow, it should work. In theory, it should work. And hey, I love a good theory. In theory, communism works. It's just the practical application is not so good. Anyway, I'm going to cut this here right now, and next time you see me, it'll be with a new 10 amp fuse in my hand, and hopefully a working voltmeter and USB sockets, so I can button this thing up. We'll see. See you tomorrow. So, quick update, getting everything put back together. We'll go through the wiring harness in a bit. I just finished brushing the terminals on the battery and just doing the connectors here, and I'm just adding a little bit of dielectric grease just to give that a protection. And if you're going to do this, if you've got the battery access open, take the time, take the terminals off, and clean out those terminals, put a little grease on them, show them a little love, because it's in an awkward spot for a lot of tractors, especially if it's a front hinge. And your battery will thank you for it this winter. Yet another change for the wiring harness project. So I was going to go with these Wagyu connectors, and I decided against that because, well, this is number 10 wire, I do believe. I think it's 10. Anyway, it's just too big for these little Wagyu connectors, Wago, whatever you want to call them. So, new plan. This is plan number 3 for those keeping track. So we're ditching that, and I have gotten a proper harness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal some wire from my that came from the battery, and I'm going to put that on the heavier gauge wire. I'm going to put on the terminals for the voltmeter. And part of the problem I had was that the wire I was using, I think, was 14 gauge, so that's why the split pins didn't work. These little blade type thingies, don't bother with them, junk. So I'm going to upgrade the wiring to this to match to be the same wiring. I'm just going to take a donor piece off of that, and then I'm going to use a barrel connector to hook those two back together, and use the opposite end of the automotive connector. So basically, I will take this, I'm going to cut that in half. I will use these to make my attachments, and in the middle here, I'm going to use barrel connectors. On the bench here, I've got my piece of wire, I've got my spade connectors, and all I'm going to do is I'm taking this and I'm going to, where's the camera? There it is. So that just slides into there, and then you will crimp this down. I'm going to put some heat shrink tubing over it, a little dielectric grease in there because I got it, and why not? Got a nice smear over there, and you don't want to shove it all the way straight in. Just kind of give it a twisting moment or twisting action in the direction that your wires are spinning, and then it just goes in nice and easy, just like that. We take our pliers, and give that a good crimp. Oh, didn't take. There we go. And that's not coming off. We'll take some heat shrink tube. Put that on the back end here. And to get that over there, I'll just kind of nip at the sides here to get that sort of kind of back around. And we'll get that over. So I've got a nice connection there. Take the heat gun, on the heat. There we go. So that's that end made up. And for the other end, what I'm going to do is I'm taking a barrel connector, and I'm going to basically do just the exact same thing. I'm going to put that in there, and that is going to connect to the automotive connectors that I have. So just give me 1 second, I'll be right back and show you this. Again, with a little bit more dielectric grease. Right in there. Wiping my pants, because I'm a guy. And that'll just go in. Oh, I guess it would help if yeah, let's put this on. Can I go over? Yeah, that'll go over. We'll just put the heat shrink tubing down. So what I'm not going to do right now is shrink this, because I want to do this all in one connection with the other piece that's on the other tractor. So, but this is the negative leg for the voltmeter. So this will plug into the back of the voltmeter. So I'll come back after I've made up the positive lead. It's the exact same process. On the back of the voltmeter here, we've got a brass positive and a silver negative screw. You can see it's actually stamped on there. There's the negative, there's the positive. So we have the negative one here, and all you do is I'm just pushing that on. That's it. That's your connection right there. That's on there nice and solid. And we'll put the other one on, and then we'll move on to attaching this part. There goes nothing. We're going to take this and we're going to cut it. And after reviewing footage last night, I discovered that I had blown the fuse because I didn't take the negative terminal off the battery, and I was looking for these cutters, and I didn't even notice that I had shorted out the fuse. So let that be a lesson to you. Always disconnect the negative, accentuate the positive, as the famous song goes. So that one's cut, and come on, get in there. Oh, this 10 gauge stuff is tough. This is good wire. Trying not to mangle this as best I can. There we go. Okay, I think that. There we go. Okay, so now the plan is we will take these connectors, which go to the voltmeter, and we will use barrel connectors, comme ça, and they will allow me to bring the power from the battery to the voltmeter. Now all of this is the third thing I've tried, because remember we tried these snap-in things. That didn't work. The Wagos were too small, and these, I'm hoping this is going to work. And all of this was in an effort to avoid having to run wire directly from the voltmeter back through the battery. It's not completely onerous, but it was just seemed like a waste of wire. But the amount of time and that I have invested in this right now, it might have been the easier option. But anyway, so we'll just get these barrel connectors hooked up. And after a few minutes, I used the barrel connectors. I put both pieces of wire into the barrel connector and crimped them, and then I put in a heat shrink tubing over top of it. So this is actually made up and ready to go. So we have this connector, which we are going to connect to this piece, I think. I'll figure this out in a minute. I'm just winging it here now. I'm not an electrician by any means, as that's probably pretty obvious by now. I don't even play one on TV or on YouTube for that matter. But this is a pretty secure connection, so I'm rather pleased with that. And just a matter of plugging that back into the voltmeter, and we'll move on to the next step. So here's a very rude schematic. So we got the battery up here. I got the two wires coming from the battery that come to the charger, which will be right there. And I want to tie in that wire and that wire to the voltmeter, which where the hell did the voltmeter go? Oh, there it is. So that's going to come in there. So this is the main line from the battery. This comes from the voltmeter. And this comes from the charger. So now I'm trying to figure out what the best way to go about this is, and I'm still scratching my noodle on this. Like I said, I'm not an electrician, and I don't play one on YouTube. Duh. Well, I do believe I have had some measure of success. So what I have done is I've taken the lead from the battery, and I have spliced that with a butt connector, and happy Canada Day to me, a new crimping tool. It's amazing what the right tool will do for the job. So I've got solid crimps down on that and down on this one. I have tied in the negative and the positive lead in the butt connector, and now these will run to the voltmeter, and fingers crossed it will power the charger receptacle and the USB port and the voltmeter. So just let me get these put on and try and button some stuff up here, and we'll see where we are. Get our grease. Slip in our connector. Get in there. Stranded wire, so kind of need to know what I do with my crimpers. There we go. One solid connection. Put this onto the back of the positive terminal, and we'll get the voltmeter hooked up and we'll test it. I'm not buttoning it up before I test it this time. Somebody keep an eye on those volts there and tell me what the battery is at. Anybody notice what the voltage was? I hope it was good. I guess I'll have to rewind it just to see. Okay, so I have tightened the battery terminals, checked the voltage, the battery is good. We've got the two leads for the charging port. They're coming off there. Put my reservoir bottle back. And everything is looking good in through here and down through here. So all of this is good. This is just straight from the wire. And there's the battery charging port. And here is the voltmeter. Now, let's see if it's going to work. Fire in the hole. All right. I'm not going to get mad. I'm frustrated. But I think the only thing left to do, there's only one of two things, I figure. Either there's something wrong with that voltmeter, but I did check it before I installed it, and it was taking power. I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking apart all of those connections again, and I'm just going to have a straight connection that runs from the battery to the charging port. And the one thing I was hoping to avoid, running more wire back directly to the battery to power the voltmeter. So, for those keeping count, fourth time is going to be the charm. Dagnabbit. Well, after much fiddling about, for want of a better word, I think I have it sorted out. So here we've got the connectors off here, or the shroud, I should say. So down there, I ended up running the separate wires to the battery. It was just too fiddly to try and splice it in. It just didn't seem to want to work. So I've got the charger ports. They're all connected. They run to the battery. So it is time, my friends. It is time to see if our little voltmeter has juice. Success! A working voltmeter. The USB works. And the last piece of the puzzle, the smart charger is charging, so I no longer have to fiddle up front with the battery. It's nice and easy. Just lay that on the step. And I did have an issue with reverse polarity at one point, but that was just I had the wires backwards. Again, operator error. So I'm hoping that these two little things will make my life a little bit simpler, because everything I try to do is not simple. in theory, again, we're back to that theory, it should be, but it isn't. But I learned something along the way. I learned that the simplest way is usually the best way. And I had tried 3 different ways to connect that voltmeter, USB sockets, to the existing harness that I had run for the charger. It took way longer to do that than just to run the darn wire, which is what I should have done in the first place. Anyway, I hope somebody can learn from my mistakes at the very least, and stay tuned. I've got some more projects coming up for the tractor. One of them involves the outrigger for the backhoe, and I am diligently watching the highways and byways, looking for tread that has come off of transport truck tires. And I've got some wood, and I'm going to make a block basically that goes under the pad so you don't destroy your concrete or your asphalt or anything else you happen to be on. It'd be just a nice pad for the outriggers to sit down on. Anyway, thanks very much for hanging with me. Have a great day. Do something nice for somebody. You'll feel better for it. Bye-bye for now.